Episode 1. The MEL Concept. Introduction. When Odysseus set sail from Troy to return home to Ithaca, his ship was far from perfect. After 10 years of war, the sails were worn, the hull creaked, and the crew had already endured more storms than any sailor should. Yet, he sailed on for another decade, not because everything was flawless, but because he understood what was essential for the voyage to continue. Aviation is built on that same understanding. We never fly in a world of absolutes. Systems fail, indicators flicker, and yet the mission must go on safely, but realistically. The philosopher sailor in us calls this judgment. The engineer calls it risk management. And aviation defines it as a LARP, keeping risk as low as reasonably practicable. The tool that embodies that principle in our daily operations is the Minimum Equipment List, or MEL. It allows us to navigate imperfection to decide when safe enough truly means safe within a strict, regulated framework that never removes responsibility from the commander. MEL, definition, and purpose. The Minimum Equipment List is a document listing equipment or functions that may be inoperative while still allowing an aircraft to be dispatched safely. It exists to maximize aircraft utilization, avoiding unnecessary delays or cancellations while ensuring that airworthiness and safety standards are always maintained. Behind it stands the Master Minimum Equipment List, or MMEL, published by the manufacturer and certified by authorities such as EASA or the FAA. Because of its alleviative nature, the MEL may never be less restrictive than the MMEL, which is considered mandatory data. In short, the MEL authorizes dispatch with certain items inoperative, provided specific limitations, procedures, or maintenance actions are followed. Using the MEL in line operations. During normal line operations, the crew must always use the airline MEL, which contains the list of equipment or functions that may be inoperative for dispatch, the associated operational procedures, the associated maintenance procedures, the list of ECAM cautions or warnings linked to those conditions, and the rectification interval for each item. Each MEL item is identified using the ATA 100 format in a 6-digit breakdown. For example, 215201 refers to air conditioning air cooling system air conditioning pack. MEL, General Operational Rules. 1. Applicability. The MEL theoretically applies to revenue flights. Out of base, the aircraft should be free of unrectified failures, or any deferred items must be recorded in the technical log and approved. 2. Failures before departure. If a failure occurs or a function becomes inoperative, up to the commencement of flight defined as the point when the aircraft begins to move under its own power, for takeoff, the crew must refer to the MEL. 3. Failures during taxi. If a failure appears during taxi, before the takeoff roll, continuation is a matter of pilot judgment and good airmanship. The commander may consult the MEL before deciding whether to proceed based on the nature of the problem and its potential impact on operations later down route. 4. Identification. The crew checks the MEL section corresponding to the ATA chapter of the failed system. For example, ATA 23 for communications, or cross-references any ECAM warnings, for instance, ECAM COM VHF 3 data fault. 5. Assessment. Once the corresponding MEL item is identified, if the item is not listed, dispatch is not permitted. If it is listed, read the dispatch conditions carefully. If dispatch is permitted, verify that the rectification interval, category A, B, C, or D, has not expired. Any required placard is installed. All applicable operational, O, and maintenance, M, procedures are carried out. 6. Operational limitations. If an operational limitation applies, check for performance penalties, MTOW, flex, etc. Flight domain limitations, speed, configuration, etc. Special procedures, manual engine start, etc. Systems that must be turned off. 7. Maintenance actions. If placards or maintenance actions are required, contact maintenance, and remember that maintenance actions must always be completed before applying operational ones. For ETOPS sectors, note that some items are mandatory for dispatch. This is clearly stated in the MEL. Non-safety related items. Finally, some non-safety related items do not need to be listed in the MEL and are not required to be operative. These NSRI items relate only to passenger convenience, comfort, or entertainment such as galley appliances, video systems, or reading lamps or equipment used solely for ground maintenance. Such items do not need to appear in the MEL. Closing reflection. The MEL is not a loophole. It is a disciplined expression of ALARP in action. It recognizes that perfection is unattainable, yet safety must remain non-negotiable. It tells us what we may do, never what we must. Each time a commander opens it, they balance the art of decision-making against the science of regulation, a modern echo of Odysseus at the helm, steering not a flawless vessel, but a safe one.